Okay. We do pre-show. Kevin, do you think there's anything there? Probably something. Do you want to keep talking sports? This is what we do.
I thought we were going to keep talking sports until Armin taps out.
We talk sports. Yeah.
Well, he called us out yesterday
Yeah.
on stage in front of everyone. Said we were a podcast about sports.
He's not wrong.
It's other stuff too.
It's right because I listened enough to the podcast that I was like, at first I'm like, all right, enough about sports, but now like, all right, enough about design. Let's just hear.
Well, I think we've also I think we've turned it down a bit.
Yeah,
we've gotten some feedback.
Yeah.
That maybe people listen to the show for design.
Yeah.
And they don't give a shit about sports. And so to listen to Kevin and I go on and on and on about NFL, free agency.
Yeah, you should hear the stuff we don't put out.
Yeah.
You should hear the 10 minutes, 20 minutes pre-show where we're talking about LeBron's legacy.
Yeah, that's what we do. I mean, that's how we warm up for the show. And the warm-up sometimes is longer than the actual show because we're just talking about, LeBron's legacy. 3, 2, 1. Kevin, how's it going?
It's good.
It's Saturday.
No, it's Wednesday.
It's Saturday. We can break the illusion of the podcast.
The fourth wall.
Yeah, the fourth wall. We are here on a Saturday morning, actually, in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, and it's quite beautiful out. And I'm even just shocked that you're here.
Me?
Yeah.
Are you shocked? Are you shocked
Yeah.
to be here, Kevin?
Yeah.
No. I got a job to do, and I show up and I do it.
Wow. Good answer. Good
Recruiting, good staffing.
That's right. Exactly. You know what? The work doesn't stop, Kevin. This podcast is just, it's no days off.
Yeah.
But that's the real reason why we're here on a Saturday is because we have a special guest. Born and raised in Mexico City, Armin Vit is a graphic designer and writer now living in Bloomington, Indiana. Go Pacers. He is a co-founder of UnderConsideration, a graphic design firm generating its own projects, initiatives, and content while taking on limited client work. Although he has written for well-known design publications, he is most recognized for his writing on the blogs that make up the UnderConsideration online network, particularly Brand New, the popular blog that for nearly 20 years has provided opinions on corporate and brand identity work. Along with his wife and partner, Bryony Gomez-Palacio, Armin has co-authored various books for publishers and for UnderConsideration, organized multiple design events, including the annual Brand New Conference and First Round, which happened yesterday in New York City. Previously, Armin worked at the New York office of Pentagram, and professional experience stretches back to 1999. Since then, he has become a regular speaker and juror in events and competitions around the world. When not working, he's either out for a run or washing the dishes. Welcome to the show, Armin. How are you?
Very good. So excited to be here on a beautiful Saturday morning. So thanks for coming in, both of you. I appreciate it.
Oh, man.
What are y'all considering?
Yeah. Under consideration.
Everything is under consideration. It's especially our domain name. That's why we ended up with that name. Which is like when we started our first blog called Speak Up, we wanted speakup.com, but obviously that was taken, and we literally just picked underconsideration.com because it was available.
Yeah,
and
it's nice. It's good. It's a good name. It's a good name for what we do. A blog about what we do.
Yeah.
That's true. You are considering things.
Yeah.
Everything.
We're always considering. Everyone in this profession is considering.
The funny thing about that is how many people now submit work to Brand New, and then at the end they say for your consideration. And everybody thinks that they're doing it for the first time.
You got a strong brand. They know you like the puns.
Yep.
That's true. So growing up in Mexico City, when did you move to the States?
I moved in 1999, right after college. So I went to 4-year design school in Mexico City. I went into design school because it was the path of least resistance. It just seemed like, I don't have to memorize stuff. I don't have to take tests. Also, my grades in high school were so bad that I couldn't get in any prestigious university. At this university, if you could pay tuition, you could get in. So
you got money?
Yep, you got money. In 97, I met my wife, then girlfriend.
Where'd you guys meet?
At a nightclub.
At a nightclub.
Nice.
Hell yeah, in Mexico City?
In Mexico City, Valentine's Day.
So cool.
Me and a friend had said, if we don't have dates for Valentine's Day, we're not going out.
Ooh.
Obviously, we didn't have dates, which was a surprise to no one. So we're like, all right, we don't have dates. Let's go get shit-faced. And we were on that process of getting shit-faced, and we were just getting warmed up. So I had enough drinks in me that I had the courage to talk to this girl that was sitting next to me. There were two groups of friends, and there was like a Venn diagram, literally me and Bryony, from each friend group, and like, hey. But like, enough drinks to have courage, but not enough to not be coherent.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you're like, what if we created an online network of blogs?
Exactly. Yeah. At that point, like, can you imagine doing conferences together and working together and living together 24/7?
Yeah.
Anyway, so she was good. Part of the story was that she was going to another design school at the same time, also graphic design.
Got it.
And then she decided that she hated it, and she wanted to study graphic design in the U.S.
Amazing.
So she went to Portfolio Center, which is now Miami Ad School, or MAD. And because she had been the only girlfriend that I ever had, I was like, I'm going to follow her. Because who knows when I'll get another one.
Yeah, she might be the only one.
And I think it could have been true. Like, I just had no game. I had no, I just like, this is my one shot.
Yeah. No. Yeah, no.
If you had one shot, one opportunity. Would you capture it, or did you let it slip?
Yeah, and so you moved to New York because
we moved to Atlanta.
Oh, you moved to Atlanta.
So she went to Portfolio Center.
Okay, got it. That's right.
Yeah, and this was the original .com era.
Yeah.
So huge growth for the design industry.
Sure.
And basically, if you could open Photoshop,
you were hired.
Yeah, I went to an interview. They offered me the job on the spot. Which is unheard of pretty much nowadays. And I said, like, I'm from Mexico. What do I do? And they were like, don't worry. We'll get our HR team to do your visa. Go back home. In 3 months, we'll see you here.
So you're telling me you worked on a computer with Photoshop and not like letterpress or anything?
Yeah. This is
not
the Gutenberg press.
Yeah, exactly. We had drop downs. And no, what's funny is that at the science school in Mexico, like, it was 95. So the computer had only just started to make its way there. So everything I learned was still by hand. And like, we literally had 10 computers for a group of 20 people. And like, we all had to huddle around Quark Express.
I want to make fun of you with Kevin, but unfortunately, I'm much closer to your age and your experience with computers than I am to his. So no, it's tough. And I was thinking about Quark Express the other day because that was a nightmare. And these kids, they don't understand how bad the programs used to be. And even the interface of Mac, like the one before OS 10 or whatever, that was a true and utter nightmare. So computers, but shitty ones. Really
but like, shifting away from Quark for me was so hard. Yeah. Like, InDesign was like, yes, this seems natural and organic, but it's not Quark. Quark, you had learned to live with how horrible it was. And you became proficient at its horrible interface. That when it was nice, you're like, oh.
I was dying yesterday at the conference. You mentioned that you did some of your animation in Flash.
Yep. I opened After Effects and I'm overwhelmed. I opened Flash. It's so natural, like little keyframes. You move from one thing to the other.
Dude, I was so bad at Flash. I wasn't even good at Flash. So After Effects, I stand no chance. But Flash, I had like a little bit of knowledge of, because in school, that was the program if you wanted to make something move. So yeah, Kevin, we're old. It's just how it goes.
Not that old.
Yeah. So Atlanta, and then you moved to New York a couple years later. When do you?
No. So from Atlanta, then we went to Chicago.
Yeah, we don't do research here. So
that's fine. I'm okay to share.
Well, some of the middle years are a bit blurry on the internet.
Yeah, we know the gist. So maybe
you can't learn about your Valentine's Day at the nightclub on the internet.
That's not on the
internet. Not yet. Now it will be now.
Now it's on the record. So we moved to Chicago right after Bryony finished school. The company that I went to work with in Atlanta went bankrupt. It was one of those large internet consultancies. They had no idea what they were doing. I don't know if you remember this. It was called March 1st. It was like a big deal. It was such a big deal that they had an ad in the Super Bowl in 2001. It was a shot of the Arctic, so it was like big snow. And there was a penguin, CGI penguin, which at the time was pretty wild. And the penguin was just like looking from one side to the other as someone was stepping behind the camera. So it was like sort of the idea of a pioneer and someone braving the wild. And
March 1st.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it was called March 1st because that's when when two companies merged. Like we were 10,000 people worldwide.
Oh, wow.
Good reason for a name.
Yep. Yeah.
Chicago and then to New York?
And then to New York,
okay.
Yes.
You guys move around a lot.
Yeah.
I will be honest, looking at your sort of timeline.
Yeah.
You guys are in Bloomington now, but it feels like you guys are, ready for another relocation.
Yeah. No, it's what we've done is that we move based on what's happening in our life and business. So, New York makes sense when you have no kids, double income, works great.
Sure.
Then we moved to Austin after we had our first kid. We were there for 9 years, started our own business, got a dog, then got another dog, then got another kid. And we're like, this house is not as big anymore.
Got it.
And we had been in Austin so long, for 9 years, that the cost of living had just grown like crazy. We couldn't afford a bigger house in Austin anymore. And then a certain president came into power. We freaked out. So this is 2016. We're like, the world is gonna go to hell. So we wanted to get out of Austin and not have a huge mortgage. So we ended up going to Bloomington, Indiana.
How'd you pick Bloomington?
We put up a map on the wall, started throwing darts. No, we literally had no idea what Bloomington was. Some friends that we had met in New York, they had moved to Santa Barbara, then they moved somewhere else, and then they moved to Bloomington. And we're like, what is this Midwest place that you are in? Like, Bloomington, Indiana. Like, right? Never heard of it. Googled it. IU, Indiana University is there. And they should like the basketball mind tricks in. Oh, Bobby Knight.
Caitlin Clark.
Not yet. It was not at the time.
But in the future.
In the future, I could see.
You could see that WNBA was going to be big.
Not Bloomington. It's Indiana Hoosiers, Alex.
No, but I'm saying Indiana Fever, whatever. We don't
need
to go there.
She played on Iowa.
Kevin, don't fact check me.
Bloomington and Indianapolis are not that close. I mean, they're like probably an hour away, right?
An hour away.
This is another part of the Kevin and Alex dynamic. I only know East and West Coast. So everything in the middle there,
it's mushy.
Yeah, it's just Midwest to me.
Yeah. So we move based on what we need to do for our family, for our business, what makes sense. We've been working from home since 2007. So,
before working from home was cool.
Yeah. Before it was cool or before it was necessary. In Austin, we had taken the master bedroom as our office. So it was not ideal to be working, and then the shower was there, and then the closet was there. So there will always be me or Bryony just walking by between the shower and the closet. So now we have a proper office.
That's good. That's awesome. Going backwards just a second, you worked at Pentagram.
Yeah.
What year was that?
That was 2004 to 7.
Okay. And what team over there were you on?
Michael Brewer.
Okay. So the
best.
The GOAT team. Yeah. The Chicago Bulls of the Pentagram team. Yeah. And so what was the experience like there? Brands you worked on? Any fun stories you could share?
Yeah, no, it was amazing. It really, Michael Brewer is hands down the best boss ever. Smart, knows how to give art direction, knows how to talk to clients. I think seeing him interact with clients was for me the best part.
Sure.
Before Pentagram, I had worked at a really tiny design firm in Chicago. We were only 4 people, and the person that led that firm, she was just always saying yes to whatever the clients asked, demanded, whatever.
I never do that, right, Kevin?
Yes.
The
first time he fired a client, I was oh, you can do that.
Yeah.
And then the other time when he, a really good client, potential client, he's like, no, we're not the right fit for you. I'm you can also do that. You can have the, premonition that this is not going to work for X or Y reason. And I got to work on some fun stuff, and not a lot of it didn't make it to the world, but it did the logos for TV Land, Spike, which I don't know what it's called now, but
sure,
I think it's still Spike.
It's still Spike
TV.
Yeah, Spike TV, Manly Channel,
Paramount Plus.
Yeah, I literally
Max,
and it was also a different time. I literally had a logo that it was the logo's window. Treatment, and in there was a picture of cleavage.
Wow!
It was just
that's Spike in the 2000s.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. The Man Show.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That was That's
Adam Carolla, Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah.
No, and
they were certainly doing some things.
They were pushing the envelope, and some things that Jimmy Kimmel probably wishes weren't recorded as he's become one of the most famous people in the world. Pentagram, obviously, tough place to get into. What was the interviewing process like?
It was very interesting. Yeah. So when we were in Chicago, my goal was to work at Pentagram because, kind of like every designer's dream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I started, I emailed Michael, and Michael was my favorite.
Of course.
So I emailed Michael, hey, can I talk to you about potentially working for you? He was very nice, took me out to lunch, and eventually, after the whole, back and forth, he eventually said, look, you are officially too senior. And I wasn't that senior. I had 7 years experience at that point. But we usually hire, junior designers that come in as interns. They start to grow. They stay for a long time. So I don't think it's going to happen, but thank you. At the time...
It's nice that he took you to lunch, though.
Yeah.
I imagine a lot of people email Michael Beirut and say,
I'm going to email him and see if he'll take me out to lunch.
I like a burger, maybe sushi, what do you think?
The entry into that was that I already had Speak Up, and he was writing Design Observer.
God.
So we had this email relationship in the back.
Okay.
That we had formed sort of this colleague relationship before that even happened.
So you're saying Michael Beirut will not take me out to lunch?
It's unlikely.
Yeah. Okay, so the blogging happened before the Pentagram.
Yeah.
Okay,
and so then from Chicago, I moved to New York. Started at a medium design firm called Decker Design, and I was there for 6 months. And then Michael emailed me saying hey, my 2 senior designers are leaving at the same time.
Okay,
can you come in?
You're all right.
Yeah. I'm coming in.
Yeah. It's a bit of a drive, but I can get there.
And he literally said, just bring your portfolio and bring a number of how much you want to get paid.
Ooh.
I had no idea how much I was worth.
Yeah, what do you go with?
It was the stupidest number. It was so stupid. He said, yes, no problem, on the spot.
You're like, fuck.
Yeah. I just came in with and for me, it was a big deal. $55,000.
Yeah.
He was
He's like, all right, sorry Monday.
Yeah, it's Monday. Yeah. And,
he's like, damn, I would have paid you double.
Yeah. He gave me a really nice bonus at the end of the first year. So I think, he acknowledged that,
maybe you had lowballed.
Yeah, but I didn't know any better.
And you probably didn't want to lose the opportunity.
Exactly, yeah. For me, it was just, I'm in. I'm not going to mess it up for getting a few extra $1,000.
Yeah, I'm going to give him an offer he can't refuse. Yeah. And he didn't refuse it.
Yeah, and literally, he's we went through my portfolio, and he was like, yeah. And eventually, he told me, the reason I hired you is because of Speak Up.
Wow.
Because I could see how you think about design, whether you're a good designer or not. I can see that you can use the software, but it was more important to him how I approach design.
When did you start writing about design?
With Speak Up.
Yeah, and so what made you want to do that? What made you?
Yeah, what made you want to speak up?
Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah, it's gotta be ready for it.
Best in the business, right there.
Yeah, I'm somewhat of a pun man myself.
Yeah, no, I'm a
punny guy.
Yeah. No, I'm afraid to go live on a pun off.
Yeah.
I need time. I need time for
you need to think
my
about
puns to simmer. Yeah.
Have you ever seen the pun competition? There's a pun show where they go pun off.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Real time is hard.
Yeah,
I need to.
I think they're better when they're deliberate and used sparingly.
Yeah.
You can't just rattle off I mean, you could, and it would be great.
Yeah.
I'd backtrack on everything I just said.
So the reason I started, it started in, I think the first version was in Chicago in 2003. And it started because there was another blog about typography called Typographica, yeah. And they were the very first design blog, very rudimentary, just old WordPress, not even WordPress, movable type. And, they talk about fonts. You have comments.
Yeah.
That's so, I participated in the comments a lot. Then they were like, hey, do you want to be an author for us? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I started writing for that, getting to know movable type. And they're like, hey, I think we can do that. I can do this for graphic design. And at the time, no one knew who I was. There was no reason for anyone to know who I was. So I just started writing, and I thought I have opinions.
Yeah,
I have things. And at the time, AIGA was the big thing.
Sure,
the organization, and I had opinions about it.
Yeah,
and I had I'm going to talk about it, and I just started writing and inviting people that I respect. That's why I emailed Michael. I emailed Steve Haller, hey, come check out this stupid blog that I have. And at the time, like now looking back, it was just I had kind of like a level of confidence that I was not warranted.
Sure, yeah.
It's just that youthful,
20s energy.
Yeah. I mean, like all good origin stories, though.
I guess.
Yeah. And so, and that's a good lesson though for designers out there. It's like if you want to like get to Michael Bay route, if you're like, hey, I'm a designer, I want to work with you, probably no go.
Yeah.
But if you're like, I have a blog, and I write.
Start now.
Yeah. Like maybe you want to write, or I have a podcast, or do something where you want to like interview or get something, sort of that could maybe help him, or you can like give him a platform. I'm not saying this is the right, Michael Bay route is obviously very busy, but like I do think it is a good sort of way in sometimes to sort of talking to people that you wouldn't have to write and to talk to at that time.
That's how I met Steve Heller, and then one of the reasons why I'm any good at writing today was because I wrote a few pieces for Steve Heller. There was a printed magazine, there was an online component for AIGA, I think it was, or something, and he was like the first editor that I had that taught me how, if you're gonna say something, why are you saying it, how does that pay off on the next sentence and for the previous one. And he was like, because I wrote one thing and he was like, this is great, minor edits. Then he asked me to write something else and it was terrible. And it was just like through that process, just like, oh, so that's how you get points across. And then I just kept writing. It wasn't an ambition. Like I never thought, I want to be a design writer.
This is
like,
a business. This is like my future.
Yeah, no, even at the time when we started to speak up, a year or two in, where we were still in Chicago, someone like a famous designer from Chicago, Greg Samara, he's like, hey, Armin, you need to figure out a way to monetize this thing. Like, no, it's for the love of the game. Like now it's like, no, it's...
No, he was right.
I love it. We need to make money.
Yeah, you've got kids to feed. Literally.
Yeah, exactly.
And so in 2006, Speak Up launches Brand New. And Brand New is a standalone site to review identity.
And the main reason that why we launched it was because people on Speak Up were like, why are we talking about logos and complaining about logos? This is stupid.
Okay.
It's funny that now they're like...
Yeah, they're like, this is a bad idea?
They were like, this is a bad idea. This is drag. Because on Speak Up, it was more esoteric.
Yeah,
talking about, more about like the practice of design and certification.
Pinkies up, turtleneck design.
Very much,
Okay.
And the comments were like 500-word comments. Like, someone coming in and saying like, oh, this sucks. Like, you would get booed down and it was just not cool. And when we showed the UPS logo, when it changed from the Paul Rand logo to what it is now, and 200 comments were like, this sucks. We were like, this doesn't belong on Speak Up.
Got it.
And we did a few more. And then we're like, hey, you don't want it here, I'll take it out here.
You got to compartmentalize and bring these this energy somewhere else.
Exactly.
Where were you finding your stories? Like, I find my stories on your website and other websites like the Die-Line or whatever, but where would you even go about finding these stories?
At the beginning, it was hard. At the beginning, we literally had to go out and Google for news. We had 2 or 3 other writers at the time that came from Speak Up that, reading the newspaper, you'll find about this thing.
The hell is that?
Yeah, exactly. Right? On the radio, you saw an ad.
Print?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
You got a leaflet in the mail. And then eventually with the growth, now stories come in.
How quick did you realize that Brand New was the thing?
It took a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Because at the beginning, we would post once a week. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very slow. The traffic was like maybe 60,000 page views a month.
Okay.
Which was, it was good for a design blog, but nothing major. I think our big break was the Gap fiasco in 2010.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Because we were the only ones that were talking about it, and we were the first, like, we didn't break the story, but the story broke and we covered it right away. And our traffic literally shot up by like 500%.
It's a really interesting time in design too, where design kind of starts to break a little bit into the mainstream, where people in the past wouldn't give a shit about a Gap logo change, but something about that story and just how horrendous of a change it was and how much people were angry about it really kind of got people talking about design. I mean, Gap made the wrong decision to go back to the original logo. Personally, they should have rode with it, but that was a big story.
Yeah.
And I imagine since then there have been other stories that are sort of like spike moments for the blog. But that one you say like that got
Yeah,
people.
I think that's the one that sort of captured not just the design audience, but a broader audience. That were like, oh, what is this place? And you go back through the archives and there's stuff. And yeah, then we just kept the coverage up about Gap. And then, then things just fall in your lap. Like the Pepsi stuff was also around that time.
Gravitational pull of the moon.
Tropicana. Yeah. So all those kinds of things. Anything that's controversial is good for us.
Of course. Did you quit your job at Pentagram to do this full time?
I quit my job at Pentagram because of my first kid.
Okay.
It sounds cliche and Hallmark, where they tell you that baby will change your life.
Yeah, you're a new man.
Yeah, and
priorities change.
Yeah, but what happened was that I got 3 months off paternity leave at Pentagram, which is pretty nice and generous.
Good. Yeah,
and I just thought, I'll take my 3 months off, spend some time with the baby, then go back and stay there until I make partner or they fire me.
Great.
A month in, I was just like, I cannot be here all this time. I'm only thinking about this kid.
Yeah.
So like a month after, I was just like, Michael, sorry, this is it. Like, can't be here. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to Bryony and our kid.
Sure.
Now I can't wait for my kid to go to college and leave me alone.
Circle of life.
Yeah,
exactly. That's how it goes. So you were like, at that point, being a father, of course, and then having this blog that now has some viewership and some traction. You start doing ads, I imagine.
Yeah, we had some ads, and we had a deal for a graphic design book called Graphic Design Reference, which me and Bryony did back then. And that was, for us, they were like, here's $20,000 to do a book. And we're like, oh, yeah. Clearly, one thing that should be clear from this podcast is that I have no idea what my value is as a designer.
Yeah.
Or as a writer.
I once saw you do a talk, though, where you laid out exactly how much money you made each year and how much this whole operation was
That was 10 years later.
Yeah.
Just kind of like once you learn, like, oh, this is what you need to survive and what the value of design is. And still to this day, one of the reasons why I don't do client work anymore is because I never figure out a way to price it. I just priced it low, and I did more than I was getting paid for, just because. And I'm sure it's the same for you. You do it because you love it.
Of course, absolutely.
If you could survive on free, you would still design.
We don't even get paid for our client work. I just pay everyone out of the goodness of my heart because I'm generationally wealthy.
Yeah,
that's right. So the blog obviously starts picking up. When did you realize that like your community had a certain vibe or energy?
Yeah. I think again, like the gap from the gap years. So after that, it was clear, and it wasn't the right. Now look, at the time we're like, oh, it's a place where you go to shit on bad work. And at the time we're like, okay, this is cool. Like,
we can monetize this.
We can monetize. It wasn't so much that, hey, we can monetize the evil in people's hearts. But it was like, it was getting traction and it was fine. Like people enjoyed it. Yeah. And, people that tell you now like, oh, I wouldn't lower myself to such, low
standards.
Like they're the ones thinking like, this is bullshit. Or like this work is shit. So there was a little bit of a time when the vibe was like, this is where you go shit on bad work or even good work.
Yeah.
And then, then we sort of matured. Like my writing early on was very catty. Like it was very bitchy, very much after Gawker at the time.
The Gawker of graphic design.
Yeah, and I'm not proud of it. But, that attracted people.
Yeah, page views, baby.
Yeah.
That's how you get them.
So
you don't get it by being nice.
Exactly. But now we do. Like now, even if it's bad work, I'll try to find what is the nicest thing I can say about this so that someone else doesn't do the same thing by mistake.
Nice.
That's growth.
Yeah, exactly. Maturation.
Do you have favorite commenters? Do you have people in your sort of brand new community that and you're like, that guy brings it.
Yeah. And there's people that have come and gone over the years. Some luckily are not there anymore that were just like really, really negative. And, they were sort of entertaining and they fuel the fire. And again, that generates traffic. But then eventually you realize, especially nowadays, like in the last 2-3 years, you just cannot have that kind of energy.
Yes,
And
online.
Online. It's just like, it's not a good look.
Yeah, it's
tired.
tired.
It doesn't feel right. Exactly. It's tired. Like, it was funny for a while, but now it's just like, it does come across as mean-spirited, unnecessary. No, but I think when it changed was in 2010 when we decided to do the brand new conference. I think that's when we realized, okay, so there's actual people reading this that will show up to an offshoot experiment of brand new, and the energy is just great. Like, people really enjoy the focus on brand.
So 2010, you decide to move into conferences, take that community, put them in a room together.
Yep.
Where was the first one?
New York.
New York.
Yeah. It was at the SVA Theater on 23rd Street. Yep.
And from day one, you designed every single piece of material, logo, sort of experience.
Yeah, I mean, part of it was we're designers,
Yep.
so it's easy to do. We don't have to spend money on that. At the beginning, it was just like, we didn't pay as much attention to as we do now. It was just like, hey, let's choose a funny font and call it a day.
Yeah.
Then eventually it evolved into what it is.
It's gotten out of control.
A little bit,
This is an intervention, actually. Because for those listeners that maybe don't know about Brand New Conference, it's been now going on for 15 years, it sounds like.
I mean, 15 years minus the pandemic.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the thing that makes it great is not just the speakers and just the overall conference itself, but the work that Armin and Bryony do to make it its own brand every year that sort of pays homage to wherever it is, the materials, the stage, the website, everything is completely custom every year.
Yeah.
No repeats and no corners cut.
Right. Yeah. And there's a lot of manual labor involved, and we do everything. Just me and Bryony. We figure out, what would be a production line of 10 people. How can we optimize it for 2? And how long can we endure this process before we go crazy?
You seem to like to torture yourself a little bit. I think there's a little bit of that in it where you're like, well, I could, cut all these pieces out. I can get them cut by someone else. Yeah. But I'm going to cut 500 pieces. Yeah. Every day I'll cut 10 of them or something over the course of months.
Yeah. There's something, I mean, it's what we do. It's just like, you go the extra mile for your clients or whatever it is that you're passionate about. For us, like, it's, people enjoy it, and it's what makes it unique. Like,
it's a great conference, and I've been there a couple times over the years, and every single time it's my jaw is on the ground as you guys go through the process, because as part of the conference itself, you talk about the creation of the identity, and every time it is just astonishing.
Yeah, now it's like we document just like you have here, the multiple setup with the cameras. We have it's like a multicam sitcom. Right? We just have different cameras pointing at different things. We have a thing now that you can put your phone here so you can see how we're working.
You got a GoPro?
We don't have a GoPro, actually.
You should get the head mount. Get the head mount.
It's quite a scene. And this year it's in Salt Lake City, so we can do a little promo right here.
Nice.
Salt Lake City, first time going, doing the conference there.
October 10 and 11.
What kind of elaborate scheme do you have cooking up for the
I want
promo
to break
materials?
some news here. What have you been cutting out?
You want to tease anything?
We've been dipping a lot of stuff in
snow.
Snow, yeah. That's how we do it. That's the secret.
That's the real secret.
For the listeners, I just tapped my nose and winked at Alex and Kevin.
That's how they put in those hours.
No, so we're trying to recreate the mountains and the sky that are inherent to Salt Lake City, because you're surrounded by mountains.
Course.
So we're trying to make that kind of like a groovy Zen-like feel. We have a custom typeface that we created with XYZ type. And we're still in the process of figuring out what exactly is the crazy thing that we're going to do.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, I can picture it. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And which Real Housewife of Salt Lake City is going to be speaking there?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah, we're giving one session to each, and then one designer to open and close, just to keep it within the theme.
Okay. Well, that's my ticket is just booked. I just booked it. No, it's a great place, and you guys do pick great locations. It's another thing that I think you guys do well, which is you have them in New York and Chicago, but Austin and Salt Lake City and different places that are fun places to visit.
We're trying to make it accessible for people to fly to.
Yep.
And also to be interesting, like within Nashville, that was the first time that we went to a smaller market and like 1,000 people showed up. And like, oh, cool. People will travel to an interesting location. So that's why we ended up in Salt Lake City. We just figured like it's interesting, for the nature is amazing. And and the venue is pretty amazing.
One of our designers from Salt Lake City already got her ticket, and I'll probably be there because you do an amazing thing, which is if you speak a brand new, you get to come for life.
For life.
When did that start? Or?
From the first one.
Wow.
We were just like
lifers.
Yeah, and there's people like Matteo Bologna. He's come to pretty much every conference.
That is so sick and so amazing. And I'm going to take you up on that, I think, this year because I've never been to Salt Lake City, so I want to go. Let's talk about First Round, because First Round was yesterday in New York, an amazing conference. When did that idea kind of come through your brain? Where did it come from? Or did Bryony come up with it? How did you guys?
That one came because we were working with someone else on coming up with a more theoretical design conference. That didn't work for different reasons, but we had already booked the venue.
Oh.
We had paid the money. We couldn't back down. And we were maybe 2 months out from the dates of the event. And we're like, okay, this option A is not working. We need option B quick. And like many years ago, we had thought about the idea of First Round, publishing First Round presentations in a book form. Like, what if you did a book based on that?
Yeah.
And the few designers that we talked to were like, we're never going to put this in printed format for anyone to use for posterity. They're like, okay, fine. And then like I had an idea, well, all right, so not in book form, but what if it just happens in a room, 500 people, that's it. No one else gets to see it.
We don't talk about this.
Exactly. So that it was in New York. We emailed all the people that we had sort of a personal relationship so that it would be harder for them to say no. And then, people, 12 people said yes. And like it was the first time was in 2018. The audience was freaking out. Yeah. It was just like, I've never seen this live. Yeah. I've never seen process. I've never seen First Round decks, how people do it. Matteo was like, this feels dangerous.
Yeah, I was there. And there was an energy that you could feel that it was like, this has not been done before. Yeah. And it does feel like we're sort of breaking down the walls a little bit and showing people a little bit of things they shouldn't see. Yeah. And I think it really made for a special day. Yeah. And it just immediately struck me as exciting, I think, for a couple of reasons. One was I just started Center. And so I had no idea how to do first rounds. I've never worked at a design agency before. And so to get to go to a conference and see people showing off how you do it was really quite helpful for me. And at the time, we were presenting like 5 directions for clients. And I had a designer that we worked with, and she was like, you can't do this. This is like unsustainable. Right. This is not how you do it. And I was like, this is my company. Like, this is how we do it. We don't care how anyone else does it. And so going to that conference really was eye-opening because I actually saw many different ways in which people do it and was like, okay, I see what's going on here. And Bobby Martin presented like 12 identities and ZZ did 1. And, it's just like, I remember the sort of variety, but also some of the consistencies. And I just thought it was so exciting and fun and educational in a way that design conferences are sometimes dry, right? You see people come and they present their case studies and their work and they're like, look how amazing I am. And then you just kind of sit there and you're like, cool, you're really great. And I feel shittier. Yeah. And that is, and that's kind of how it used to be in design. And Bryony actually had this conversation yesterday as we were walking from the venue to the drinks after. And she said something really interesting, which First Round probably wouldn't have worked 15 years ago because people weren't open to sharing. And I was like, you know what? I think you're right. Because at that time, designers were like, we're geniuses. We don't, we're in competition with everyone else. So why would we give away our trade secrets?
Yep. Yeah, no, even like having been in New York in the 2000s, designers wouldn't share their typefaces or where they got them from or what print methods they were using or the printers that they were using because they didn't want to have that others use doing the same thing that they could. So, of course. It wouldn't have worked. And I think it's funny because, now 6 years later, people are submitting like, hey, can we speak at first round? Can we share our secrets too?
Yeah, and that's amazing. And I think for me, I am from the sort of generation after that generation, the one that was like, close the door, lock everything, and don't tell a single soul. And I've always felt like, let's knock down that wall. Let's let people in, and let's let people feel like, empower them and make them believe that they can do it too, which is always the thing that I think about all the time. That's why this podcast even exists in a lot of ways, because we're like, how can we talk about design, take the pinkies and break them? How can we you know, take the turtlenecks off and talk about design that's real and fun, and not just, you know, sort of this prestigious elitist thing. And I think
that only a select few can do well.
Correct. And I think that has always been something that I've thought about in my career. And I think that's ultimately why first round to me is so exciting, because I think it has that kind of energy of like, yeah, let's just share, and let's make it, let's not have that sort of guard up and say you can do it too.
Yeah, and what I think was great is it puts the speakers in a vulnerable spot, because as you experienced yesterday, you're showing the shitty part and the mistakes, the things that you look back like, I wish I hadn't done that, or why did I do that? So it shows the humanity of designers. It's not just a super polished case study, but like how you get to it, which, as we all know, it's not an easy thing.
There's months and months and sometimes years of work before you show the perfectly polished thing on brand new. And then it's like, well, how did you get here? It's not like you didn't just create this thing. It took a lot of mistakes and a lot of things that were bad, and probably a lot of things that you had to make that were bad to get there. I think, yesterday when I was doing my presentation, I was thinking about sort of exactly that feeling of looking at work from a couple of years ago and being like, oh man. And we all experience that. That's it. That's so human. And that's like, you know, if you find me a designer who looks at their work and is just like, I nailed it, I wouldn't make any changes because I'm so great. I'm like, that designer does not exist. We all want to, you know, take another crack at that thing from a couple of years ago. Even if it came out great, even if we're incredibly proud of it.
Even like the conference materials that we've done, like every year we think like, oh, this is the best.
Of
like
course,
and then you look back like, like, why do you do that?
Exactly. So speaking of, we can talk about brand new's branding. We talked about it on the show here.
Brand new brand
for brand new. And we talked about it a little bit, and I gave a scathing review.
I haven't. Is that episode out?
Episode is out.
Okay, I haven't listened.
But we didn't really talk about it because we knew you were coming on, so we could talk about it. And my review was not scathing. My review was very, very positive, and I felt like, for me, what I love about it, just to quickly, you know, sort of paint with the broadest brush possible, is, in my opinion, it now has the personality and character that the blog has always had, which is fun and not just so serious. And I think the letter forms really bring the character and the wit and the sort of feeling that I think the blog has through the writing. And I think that, to me, is just, it feels right.
Well, I like the ligatures.
Yeah, that's it. Kevin also was really into the E form.
Nice.
He went really deep on that, you know. But so talk about the branding. You had the original branding from 2006 to 2017, I have in front of me, and then 2017 to 2024. And I guess you started this branding project years ago.
Last year. I think the main thing that happened was, like, as you said, that it now looks the way it feels.
Correct.
And we realized, like, we're not presenting brand new the way that we think it should, or that people are like, the experience doesn't match what we're putting out there in terms of branding. And part of it is just that it's not that I didn't care before. It's just like, it wasn't what it is now. Like, it's not back then. And even in 2017, the main business was the conferences.
Sure.
Then when we turned into the subscription model, then brand new became, you know, had more importance in our business. And it's like, oh, now we need to take it a little bit more seriously.
Interesting.
So we just felt like the product visually, the product we're putting out did not match our intention.
The subscription model for websites is now, in the last 2 years, has become the sort of the model. You guys were on it pretty early, so.
Yeah, I mean, and even I think we're even late by general
blog standards.
Not blog standards, but just like newspapers went subscription much earlier. But yeah, I think for us it was just a matter of survival at the time. During the pandemic when we saw the conferences going away, not knowing what to do, and like the other problem at the time was that we had doubled down on conferences, and we had literally like 7 venues contracted for 2,000.
Oh man,
they were all that
2020, yeah,
2020, sorry.
2020, yeah.
And so for a moment we literally freaked out. Like, if the conferences don't come back, we're not gonna get the money back because venues are horrible.
Yeah.
So that's when we did the subscription model, kind of like a Hail Mary, and then like we did some math and we figured, what if we can get 10,000 subscribers in the first year, we'll be fine. Like we can live with this. We're up to like 32,000 subscribers.
Nice.
So,
amazing.
Yeah,
and it's $2 a month. How does it work?
$2 a month, $20 a year. So
okay.
Well,
I mean, this is
that's
pretty,
basically free.
That's free.
Yeah,
that's free. You ever think about upping those prices in this new economy?
I think next year we might. After 5 years.
Yeah. Well, we're thinking Netflix and Spotify, they seem to have no problem. They'll just send out a little email, be like, hey, by the way, it's now $20 million.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We literally, we discuss, is it 50 cents that we go up a month?
Ooh,
is it $1? Like, is $1 make us look greedy? And it's crazy to think like that. Like
I think you can go up $1. yeah. Sorry, just giving some
financial. Okay, so this clearly further establishes how bad I am with money, and we do fine. But again, like it's just like for me, it's such a pleasure to do this. Like,
of course,
yeah.
No, and I think the reason why is because of the reputation. I mean, I think as someone who obviously cares a lot about design more than I should, and I think as you run a design blog, and like Kevin said, making content about content, like people need to get it from somewhere, and you're absolutely the best. But cut that out. No, but no, you guys are one of the main sources for design criticism, and even just like you said in I think your piece, which is like just organizing it neatly for people, so that if you're like, okay, sort of who rebranded, Pepsi rebranded, like truly on the internet, there is no better place to go and just look at it, organized and dissect it.
You got the nice PR quotes pulled.
Yeah,
you
got it down to
CMO.
science.
You got the CMO quotes, which we love.
It's all about like because for me, I see so many case studies and I get so many assets, folders of assets, and I'll open it in Bridge just to see what's what, and like, what the hell is this doing at the beginning? Why do I need to see a picture of the sun at the beginning? So. For me, it's like, how do I parse it so that it seems like
a story?
A story. And the way that I think about it is like it's like a food, like a dish recipe.
Okay.
Like, here are the ingredients. Here's how you put it together. Yeah. Here's the finished dish, and it looks amazing. But it's just like without a lot of this case studies, like here's what it looks like, amazing, and then there's no understanding of what makes it come together.
Are there any trends in like case studies that you're seeing these days? Since you see so many, are there any trends that you're like, I need this to stop, or like, you're maybe a little bit tired of seeing?
Yeah, I think the everything animated is just like the color palettes are animated, icon sets are animated. And they look fun, it's amazing, but it's just like there's an animation fatigue for me at least. And it used to be that everything was static, but now everything is animated. Like, okay, we get it. You can all use After Effects. It's fun, but it's unnecessary to a degree. But at the same time, everything is in motion nowadays, so it's understandable.
That's great to hear. For the designers out there,
just keep it simple.
You don't have to try so hard. Maybe make like 1 or 2 animations.
We're so sick of making things move. It's because what most agencies are doing is like, they're the top of the top agencies that like are presenting to clients with all sorts of animation, like we saw yesterday. But then there's like the 85% of practitioners of design that are presenting work still fairly static, maybe a logo animation, if that. And then when they make their case study, long after the project is over, then they are sort of doing all the motion just to sort of be able to send it to brand new, so that someone can, sort of shit all over it.
Yeah. But again, it makes sense because even on Instagram, like one of the reasons why, one of the not the reasons, but one of the things that we wanted to do with the rebrand is so that on social media we could post more videos and more motion stuff.
Yeah.
Even though I just chat on motion stuff, like
the case study, your case study has a ton.
It has a ton of motion stuff, yeah, because that's what drives the not traffic, but keeping people engaged nowadays requires motion, and the algorithm favors motion. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
And you gathered like a sort of a Marvel sort of movie of characters to help you guys. What made you want to sort of bring in like so many different type of agencies and not just have like one main partner?
We did look at one main partner at the beginning, and that didn't work out. Not gonna name names, but it wasn't that it didn't work out, which is like it made us realize that was not the right approach.
Sure.
I think just like handing someone else like, hey, do everything, and us standing back, like Brian and I had this conversation, like that's not what got us to the point where we're now. What got us to this point is like being hands-on.
Cutting out all the books.
Yeah, exactly. But then we also acknowledge like to do it right and do it at the best level, we know our limitations.
Got it.
Like we can cut 100 things 1,000 times, but like get the writing right to get people to convince people to subscribe to Brand New, to make it engaging, to do a logo that just blows people's minds. And if it didn't work out, I could say like, hey, blame Rob Clark. Look at what this. I gave him good direction, but he fucked it up.
Yeah. Those are his ligatures. Yeah, he's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And then also because Flash, can you even get it installed on a new computer? I don't know if you could, if you wanted to make a move yourself.
I read that you've gone from Flash to Keynote animations.
Yeah.
Is all this stuff on the new case study animated in Keynote?
A lot of it is.
A lot of it is?
Yeah.
Wow.
All the social media posts that we're putting, everything goes to Keynote.
Okay.
So you must be pretty good at Keynote
I'm very
animation.
good.
Wow.
That's
a real skill.
Yeah.
I can make things appear one by one. If you saw on my deck yesterday, they just kind of layer up on top of each other. That's the extent of it.
The only limitation is that you can only do one thing at a time.
Yes.
Two things cannot happen at the same time. That's the only bad thing, but I've learned to work around it.
I don't know. It's kind of a good limiter, though.
Yeah.
Like, I find that simple animations are
don't go too crazy.
sometimes a little bit more compelling than something where everything's moving around and
the
makes
best
your head
design
spin.
has constraints.
Exactly. Yeah, if you have too much freedom, you do too much.
So everything that is on social, like when you have all those kind of like story animations, those are all in Keynote.
Wow. Yeah, we built templates, kind of like the build order animations. Like they're very tight. We have guidelines for how the timing, the settings. Yeah.
So you just kind of plug and play.
Yep. Yeah.
That's amazing. And to be honest, I'd like to have access to those. We do all of our decks and keynotes, and we find that Keynote has been, since COVID, really changed our studio because we can collaborate. And so we're all working in the same keynote at the same time. And so it's just like live happening. People use Figma for the same reason, but we like Keynote because then we can just kind of go and directly to the presentation and just kind of hide all the notes, hide all the slides, and be like, all right, we're ready. How's it going? We're presenting now. So we love Keynote. Shout out to Keynote. And so logo, merch, buy the merch. The reception I saw was pretty good.
Yeah, nobody was mean in the comments.
Yeah, people were nice.
I think there were literally like maybe 3 comments of people like, oh, I don't like it. The ligatures don't read right. But it was overwhelmingly positive. I think we have the ability to favorite on Brand New. I think we're up to like 400, which is pretty high.
Nice.
Like 200 comments, mostly positive. Even Rob Clark, he posted it on his Instagram. And before that, he had done the Cadbury script logo, and that was his most liked post. Within 3 days, Brand New became its. So I take credit for the idea, but like the execution is what really sells it, and he just nailed.
Did anyone in the comments? I looked through some of them, but I don't think I got through all the comments. But did you see anybody doing the classic move where they take a crack at it themselves, and then they they zoom in, on the ligature. They show like the bumps or
No, luckily there was none of that, and also
that's why you got Rob Clark.
Well, because I mean your comment section, it's great. They love and respect you.
That's one of my favorite things is when people take the logo and they do their own version of it and then post it.
And I've done it myself on some logos. It's hard to resist. Like, hey, this is what I've done.
Do you have a burner account on Brand New that you comment from?
I should. I should have one.
Not Armin.
Yeah.
7835. Yeah.
Wow, Armin's doing such a good job on these these reviews. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all need to take a sec to appreciate how much work he puts in.
But to show that, that the audience can turn on us, when we did the UnderConsideration logo in 2016, I think that we had this really condensed typeface, and it's hard to read.
I remember this. Yeah, it was tough to read.
That was we got blasted on that one.
So they will let you know.
If we did, I know. That's what I like. That if we didn't do it right, people would let us know.
Yeah.
And if we did it right, they did.
That's why I'm scared of your website. And Armin,
you can't handle the truth, Alex.
You've given me a hard time at times. So you're like, why don't you send me your stuff? And it's only because of fear. It's not because I don't want to. It's just because I am too thin-skinned and I'm afraid of commenters. Yeah. That's it. But I should try to get.
No, but what's funny is that, and I'm sure you can get 100 positive comments and one negative comment, and that's the thing that you obsess about. You lose sleep over. But that's what drives at least me. It's just
of course,
it's good
to
haters.
The haters.
The haters.
If you don't got haters, you're not popping. That's what.
How can I, if not shut them up? What can I? Okay, because there's some truth in that. It's easy to dismiss it. They don't know what they're talking about. But if one or two people say something that you're like, there's an ounce of truth to this.
Man in the arena. That's what I say. Just like LeBron, he writes that on his shoes. If you want to be the man in the arena, you're going to get some commenters breaking out their Illustrator and doing their own versions of it. I actually just remembered when we were talking about the rebrand on our episode, I said I had an idea for you guys. And so now that you're here, I can tell you in person. Why don't you rebrand every year? And just like the conference, roll out a new brand new every year. And, that it seemed like a very easy thing for you guys. It's right there.
Yeah.
Obviously, the conference doesn't take much time, but, kind of going through this process.
Yeah, it seems sustainable.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And then you'd always have a first round to present.
That's right. Yeah. And in each conference, you could talk about the branding for the conference and also the branding for the brand new.
Yeah.
Are you going to talk about? Yeah. Are you going to talk about that at the brand new conference?
We'll mention it, but probably. It's more about, we don't want it to make it about us. We'll mention it, but
got it.
I mean, I would have been interested to see the round one on the brand new.
The round one is literally there. It's that bad sketch at the beginning. It was round. I wouldn't even call it round one. It was literally 2 minutes of taking a screenshot. This is the idea, and I showed it to Brian. Like, what do you think? Maybe it has possibility. And I said, what if we get Rob Clark on it? Okay.
Yeah, now it's going to be something.
Now it's going to be something.
I like that you put that in, though, because I think most designers might not do that or show that. And I think showing that is this was a sketch of an idea.
Yeah.
And then bring in the experts.
Yeah, bring in the big guns.
Yeah,
and then working with Rob. I think that's the first round. Seeing Rob's interpretation of that bad idea and how you bring it to life in different ways. He's had maybe 12 or 15 options, and you're all they're all good. Yeah. And at some point you have to be okay, which one is the less good? Just because he's so good at making letter forms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shout out to Robin. We were talking before the mics were on about us as a studio working with Alec Tier, and it's just you see these guys and what they can do in their letter forms, and they're artists, and they can do things that you and I and Kevin cannot.
Yeah.
And I can confidently say that. And it's just, but it's also and it's just, I'm astonished. I'm just wow, what talent and knowledge about type that I can never truly understand. And just, it's amazing to work with those people. So it's cool they brought him in. Before we get out of here, what's next? Anything on the horizon? Obviously you got the conference, first round's done. Anything else kind of planned just to, sort of before we get you out of here?
Yeah, we're launching a new conference, the in-house, in focus, in person in 2025. So we started this blog.
In-house, in focus, in person.
In 2025.
Okay.
So that's going to be the naming basis. So it's always going to change in 2026.
Okay. Got it.
But we started this blog called In-House in Focus maybe last year or 2 years ago. And it's been slow to grow because we try to get in-depth features about different in-house teams.
Okay.
But it takes a lot of work to put them together. But so then we thought, all right, just kind of like with the first round, like, all right, what if we take that focus, no pun intended, I guess, and make it in person. So yeah, we're doing a 2-day conference in Dallas, Texas next year with, we don't have the speakers yet, but it is just to have people from representing in-house brand teams, in-house communications teams from all sorts of companies, large, small, medium, teams that are 30 people, teams that are just one person, trying to do everything, and just showcase that experience of working in-house, which I'm sure you're well aware of.
Of course.
The trials and tribulations.
No, I'm so great. I'm so great. I'm so great.
I'm so great.
I'm so great.
Just gonna drop that in there, like 1 hour into the podcast.
I'm just so amazing, guys. Yeah. Sorry, it's been a long week. It's also Saturday. Yeah. No, I'm so grateful that you're doing this, and that I didn't know that it had its own website and its own Instagram and sort of its own focus. So now I'm following all those sort of sites and channels now. And yeah, I'm pumped that you guys are doing this because I think in-house teams have grown so much.
Yeah.
I was on one, and it always felt like we were underserved in the community. No one was doing conferences about in-house, and it just was.
And it was looked down upon.
Oh,
it was just like if you went to work in-house, it meant that you had given up on working for a design firm, or that you were not good enough to work for a design firm.
Facts.
Yep. And then that has shifted dramatically in the past 5 years, where more of the talent in branding and design is in-house.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
I mean, you look at a brand like Cash App.
Yeah.
They have amazing merch.
Yeah, they're killing it.
Yeah. So
they rule.
Yeah, they just figure out like they can attract talent based on the benefits of working for a large corporation, and then they can do amazing work because they're in the brand and they're living it every day. So yeah, I think that it has changed a lot, and also how much designers and design firms have to collaborate with in-house groups to do redesigns and rebrandings.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, no, it's true, and there's so much talent being hired by these companies. Like half of the talented designers I know work at Apple right now.
Yeah.
And Chobani also, we talked about them yesterday. Like Chobani created a full in-house team that was as good as any agency is, and they are responsible for that beautiful rebrand. So it's cool that there's a site for it. And as a former in-house guy, I always say always an in-house guy. And it's still, kind of makes me proud that there's a change of the sort of perspective. Because you're right, like people used to look down on me and look down on in-house designers as like, lesser.
Yeah.
And to be honest, also like it was a place where you go at the end of your career, maybe like you work
to
in
cash
agencies,
out,
and you're like, oh, I'm going to go work for this big corporate, work for the man.
Yeah.
Put on my suit and my slacks and go to work. And it's just, it's not like that. Like your Cash App is like, perfect example. It's like they have really cool design coming out of that place, and it's done by really amazing talent.
Yeah, museums that have to put out materials on a constant basis. The New York Botanical Garden that just redesigned, they have a team. Right. Yeah, so it's a great place to do design in a different way that is now lesser or different or less valuable than what most designers do.
And and just to your point earlier about sort of like having people on the side of the client that are managing or leading the work is also critical, because you could be the best agency in the world or do the best work in the world. You do it for a client that doesn't know what to do with it, or can't take it, or doesn't know how to manage it, or doesn't know how to lead it or brief it or any of those things. It typically is not going to work very well. So I think that also is super important.
Yeah. So we have that coming up next year. Right now we have to get back, announce the speakers for Salt Lake City for the brand new conference. We're taking a little break, going to Zion National Park.
Nice.
For some hiking.
That'll be sweet. Have you been?
Have you been?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to do the. You got to go through the. I can't remember
the Narrows.
Yeah, you got to go through the Narrows.
Yeah, I think it's because we're going.
Get an early jump.
It's May, so I think there's a lot of snow melt. So far, right now it's closed, so I'm keeping an eye. I'm playing meteorologist and keeping an eye on the snow caps melting. And
that's right.
Yeah. Well, I think you could at least do. I think you could at least get in.
Yeah, you can do
a little bit. I don't know how far you can go in the Narrows, but I'm sure you could probably get into that like gorge area.
Yeah,
sweet.
So we're doing that, going to Bryce Canyon as well, and then
good moves.
Yeah, after we get back, focusing on the brand new conference materials, doing all that crazy stuff for the next 3 months. And then, it's just keeping on with the brand new, which is a full-time job in itself.
I got another job for you if you want.
Yeah,
you can take it or leave it. Maybe 2026 initiative. Hear me out. Brand old.
All right.
So we talk about old brands
and,
legacy brands are like, throwback brands that, maybe the UPS logo from
the original
from
Speak
RuPaul
Up
or whoever designed it.
We could do a whole line of merch. It would be a hit.
Brand
like all
old.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The old United logo, the tulip. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is good. And then we can bring in old designers. So
we
designers
can do
in their 80s and 90s.
We can do a seance and bring in Paul Rand.
All these young people can learn from their elders.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a fire idea. I'm going to need 20%.
You got it. Yeah. We'll sign it. We'll sign the contract.
And I'm going to need to speak at it in like 30 years. Please. Thank you. Armin, thank you so much for coming in. A long time overdue. Appreciate you coming in on a Saturday. Thank you, Kevin. And go to Brand New.
I appreciate it.
Check out the work.
Fun to chat with you guys.
Peace.
Absolutely. Later.